I do note in my agenda, Bill, a few things about Wallace Engineering, and that they are unique in the fact that they have no conflict of interest. They're not working on developers project, and then also reviewing for city entities. So there's no conflicts of interest. We can terminate the agreement anytime upon 15 days written notice. And I'll let you know that although I budgeted $50,000, doesn't mean I'll spend that. The last couple of years, I haven't spent the exact amount. I would spend it less than I asked for, but to be really honest with you, it would be wonderful for me to have to come back to you and ask for more money, because that would mean that development was on the rise. So with that, I want to turn it over to David to talk a little bit about the idea of an in-house city engineer.
I just thought that that question might come up. I may have been wrong, but we've talked about that a number of times. And I just wanted to point out that we have information on that. We'll be coming back to you on the notion of having a city engineer. I think what you can expect in that discussion is that we would initially not be proposing that this type of engineering service be included in the scope of services or in the job description of a city engineer, because it's a pass-through. You spend $1 for review, you get $1 in revenue in fees that the developer pays, and the bill is sent to the developer. The only way we would want to change that scenario is if we did a fee study for the fees that we charge developers, such that the fees the developers pay directly to us then would offset the cost of our in-house person doing the reviews. And it seems to, the way we have it, we get the depth of their bench to do the reviews, and it's not pigeonholed through one individual. And more likely what you'll see us recommending around a city engineer is around our utilities and design work and troubleshooting work and the things that come up, and with the bulk of that coming out of our utility funds and then some of it out of the general funds. But just in case that question was going to come up, I thought I'd just share that.
And I'm hoping council won't mind this being on the consent agenda.
How much development is going on? How many projects have you got in the pipeline? Rough numbers.
We have a lot on hold, but no new. We have commercial that is still active.
When you say on hold, they're on hold by the developer?
Yes.
Okay.
So they could start up at any time, but at this point, they're on hold.
So the intent of this is to pay for the development review if the projects are activated, the ones that come through.
Yes.
And anything we don't spend goes back into the budget.
Every year, that's true.
Right, absolutely. And then there's almost one-to-one revenue that comes in
Right.
with it.
Yeah, if we spend $4,000 for a bill to Wallace, I bill that $4,000 to a developer for their services. There's very little, I can't say that it's all built through. We may need the city engineer to go out on a job site where they're building a house, and the building official looks at it and goes, I just don't trust, this doesn't look right, even, but for the most part, it's all built through.
I appreciate you doing that.
My opinion of this, and I've asked both of you whether we could sustain an engineer in this process, but you can't get one engineer that covers a big, broad spectrum. And I've many times over in the last few years, I've said, why are we continuing to use Wallace? Well, there's an institutional knowledge, a lot of institutional knowledge for that matter.
Right, it would cost quite a bit to bring in a new firm for them to get up to speed on our system.
Yeah. If we were gonna do it, maybe now is the time to do that, simply because we don't have very many projects in line. But we have to do this and put them in place. I think your people, you and your staff, do a wonderful job. You do everything we expect of you, but you can't do these things. They're
No,
just-
I'm not an engineer.
And I wish there was a better way than spending this kind of money, but I don't know how we get around it without. I appreciate the fact that part of your background is engineering, and so at least when some of these things come up, we're not blind. We have some educated people in Joanne's department and sitting there with you that you can ask questions that most of us may not have ever thought. So I can appreciate that. Do you feel like at all, Trevor or Joanne, that we have changed the rules a little bit with Wallace in that we have people that are savvy enough to ask questions? They don't just blow a project by us and we accept it for what it's worth. I mean, do we get to change those rules every once in a while with adding David to the mix, or?
We have a responsibility to the citizens, maybe not necessarily the ones that live here now, but to future citizens, that when they drive down that road, that it's built to the engineering standards. So, I mean, this is a really important issue. It's public safety and welfare.
They're upholding the engineering standards and specs, which is difficult to do, especially when you have multiple projects in the hopper. But I think Wallace has done an excellent job, and David alluded to the fact that we may have 10 to 12 to 15 people that are at our fingertips with that firm. So there's a cost associated with that, but you do get that expertise, transportation, utilities, land use, whatever it may be, which is a real benefit to us, not having that layer at the city.
Is it like having DeJulios and law firm at our hands, and we have not just one, we have a few?
With Foster Pepper, yeah. I think to me, it's a little bit reassuring as well, not having known a whole lot about Wallace, that I believe as we move towards the decision on a city engineer, an engineer that's on our staff, that they may well help build which parts are most appropriate, everything else. Last meeting I was in with Bob Wallace, he looked across the table and said, you are spending enough money to carve some out to have your own, it makes sense for you to do some of this in-house and not pay us. And that's not a usual conversation you have with some of those guys. Get a little protective of that. So I think, I won't say that they're always watching out for our best interests when it comes to everything under the sun, but their stock rose a little bit, so. Other questions for Joanne? Yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mayor, I have a separate question, but since you're up for that. When are we expected to see a signed ordinance?
It actually is going, there was a work session a couple weeks ago at City Council. This public hearing is scheduled for December 14th, before Planning Commission, so it should be coming to you in January. There is a work session on one of your council work agendas, where Mitch is going to present what's being proposed.
Will that be a joint meeting with the planning commission?
No. It'll be after they forward a recommendation.
Could I request, if we can, maybe a member from there be at the table for that?
Sure,
That we go to their meeting.
that's what they said.
I could.
That's what they offered.
I will ask for that.
It would be great if we could have somebody from that committee. Just that way we can say, what were you thinking here?
Yeah, well, what happened is too, Camas is also redoing their sign code, and I was able to get a copy of a legal interpretation of some of the things they were trying to change, and so it started, Mitch and I thinking that, wow, we need some more legal review on this. So since we even came to council and you forwarded it back, we've gone back out for legal review again on a couple questions, so.
Great, thank you.
Other questions for Joanne? Get out of here. Public Works, Trevor,